It really hits you sometimes, doesn't it? This overwhelming sense of just information overload.
Oh, absolutely. Really can feel like that. Every single day. Just mountains of news coming at you.
Exactly. And trying to figure out what actually matters. It's like, well, it's a job in itself.
It is. And that's really where we want to step in. Welcome to the deep dive. Think of us as your way to cut through that noise. We find the key stuff, the surprising bits, so you're informed but not overwhelmed.
Right. And today we're taking a deep dive into Nigerian newspaper headlines, all from one day, May 22nd, 2025. It covers so much: politics, the economy, social issues, even sports and international news pop up. A real snapshot.
Precisely, like a single frame from a really complex movie, isn't it? And our mission today isn't just to list headlines. We want to unpack them a bit, understand the stories behind them, what they might mean for Nigeria, maybe even more broadly.
Okay, sounds good. Where should we start? Governance and politics seems like a big chunk.
Yeah, let's dive in there. So one thing that stood out was the Zamfara government denying any trial of a woman for converting to Christianity.
Yeah, I saw that. In a country like Nigeria with its religious diversity, that kind of headline immediately makes you pause, right?
Yeah, it really does. Even though it's a denial, the fact that a denial is necessary, well, it highlights the sensitivity around religious freedom versus state laws, especially in certain regions.
It speaks volumes about the underlying tensions, even if it's just a denial.
Definitely. Then there's Governor Zulum in Borno State. He made a pretty startling claim about Boko Haram informants.
Oh, right. Within political and military ranks. Wow.
It really underlines how complex and, frankly, how insidious this insurgency challenge is, if you've got potential undermining from within.
It makes fighting it incredibly difficult, surely. It must be damaging.
Historically, yes. These kinds of internal issues severely hamper security efforts.
And speaking of security challenges, moving slightly, the National Correctional Service offering that N5 million reward.
For the escaped inmates in Osun, yeah, that's a large sum.
It shows they're taking it seriously, obviously. But it also makes you wonder about the system itself. How did the escape happen?
Exactly my thought. Is it resources? Is it procedures? It throws a spotlight on the correctional system's overall effectiveness and security. Big questions there.
Definitely. Okay, shifting gears slightly, JMB announced mop-up exams for absentee candidates.
Yeah. Seems like a small administrative point, maybe, but it's about fairness, isn't it? Giving students another shot.
True. The logistics must be huge, but it shows a commitment to inclusivity, dealing with things that stop kids taking those crucial exams.
It does. It's part of that bigger picture of managing a massive education system.
Okay, back to pure politics. Benue APC Mass Caucus endorsing Tinubu for 2027 already.
Wow, that is early.
Isn't it? Kicking things off way at a time.
Yeah, it signals those early alignments starting to form. Maybe trying to project unity, build momentum nice and early. These things can matter down the line.
And linking back to security again, the Senate is looking at a new military base in Adamawa because of Boko Haram attacks.
Seems like a strategic move, focusing resources where the attacks are happening. Trying to improve response times, maybe?
Makes sense. Okay, let's pivot to the economy now. The Senate working on formalizing casual jobs in the informal sector. That sounds potentially huge.
It really could be. Think about how many people work in the informal economy. Formalizing that could mean more stability, benefits, a massive impact.
And the House of Reps looking at banks, curbing profiteering, boosting real sectors.
Yeah, legislative focus on the financial sector versus, say, manufacturing or agriculture, trying to steer the economy, perhaps. Could reshape things if they follow through.
And the reps are also planning probes, driver's licenses, and unpaid wage awards to pensioners.
Accountability pushes, right. Checking administrative processes, making sure government commitments, especially to pensioners, are met. That's crucial for public trust.
Absolutely. Then, a more local issue, a senator calling for old buildings near Abuja Airport to be relocated. Safety concerns, I imagine.
Almost certainly tied to aviation safety regs. Airports have strict rules about nearby structures. Makes sense to address potential hazards.
And this proposal from Rep. Dasuki, allocating seized duplexes, hundreds of them, to the military.
753, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Creative. Linking asset recovery to military housing needs.
Is that feasible, though? Legally, logistically?
Good question. Depends entirely on the status of those properties and the practicalities. Interesting idea, though.
Then there's this accusation from Natasha alleging police bias regarding petitions against Akpabio and Yahaya Bello.
Yeah, those kinds of accusations are serious. Public trust in police impartiality is fundamental, isn't it? Especially with high-profile political figures involved.
It really undermines things if people perceive bias.
Definitely erodes trust. And sticking with legal matters, there's a court date for the shadow government hearing and a warning to Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer.
Ongoing sagas, those ones. Lots of political undercurrents.
They are. The shadow government case, that touches on legitimacy. The Kanu case warning. The court trying to maintain control in a charged atmosphere, likely.
Right. On a slightly lighter international note, President Tinubu celebrating Nigerian-born mayors in London.
Ah, yes, that's a nice bit of news. Diaspora achievements, national pride, good for connections, too.
Yeah, definitely a positive story. But not all international news was upbeat. Babachir Lawal criticizing Tinubu's meeting with the Pope, calling it an insult.
That's a strong statement.
Yeah.
Reflects the, well, very strong and diverse religious and political views within Nigeria. That kind of criticism can really stir debate.
Politically charged, for sure. And internal party politics, too. Labour Party strife. Ajaro vowing takeovers, Abura resisting.
Yeah, sounds like internal tensions bubbling up. Leadership challenges, maybe. Could affect the party's unity going forward.
Seems likely. And Governor Makinde in Oyo saying he's sticking with the PDP despite defections.
Loyalty declarations amidst shifting sands. Shows the political maneuvering that's always happening. A strategic positioning, probably.
Always maneuvering. Lastly, for this section, Governor Sani in Kano appointing new commissioners, reviving the Ministry of Information.
Right. Seems like a state government reshuffle. Maybe aiming to streamline things, boost their public communication strategy, perhaps?
Okay, quite a lot happening on the governance front. Let's switch over to the economy and business headlines. What caught your eye?
Well, the Naira appreciating a bit in the parallel market. To end 4,615 per dollar.
Any appreciation is generally seen as good, right? Helps with import costs, maybe inflation.
Potentially, yes. The big question is always sustainability, isn't it? What's driving it and will it last?
True. And Vice President Shedimisa's comment was interesting, comparing the huge Dangote refinery investment to what might have happened if that money went into tech.
That's a fascinating comparison. Raises big questions about investment priorities, long-term growth sectors. Refinery meets energy needs, sure. But tech, the potential there is huge too. It's about balance.
A strategic debate for the country. But despite that, Speaker Abbas was quoted saying Nigeria is still among Africa's top investment spots.
An optimistic take, trying to attract that foreign capital. Nigeria has the market size, the potential, but realizing it means tackling those persistent issues. Business environment, infrastructure, security.
Yeah, potential versus reality.
Yeah.
And talking of disruptions, this petrol price war, closing nearly 5,000 fuel stations.
That sounds like a massive shakeup in the downstream sector. Deregulation, market forces maybe, good for prices, short-term perhaps. But closures on that scale could hit fuel availability, jobs.
Significant consequences, potentially. And this figure, Nigeria spending $2 billion on external debt servicing in just 4 months.
Wow. $2 billion. That really highlights the debt burden, doesn't it? That's a huge chunk of resources that could be going elsewhere.
It really is. And the government planning intervention funds for foreign missions facing salary crises.
Yeah, that's about managing finances, but also Nigeria's image abroad. Need those diplomatic missions functioning properly. Salary issues hit morale, effectiveness.
Can't have diplomats struggling to get paid. Regulatory news, banning jobs for uncertified engineers in the oil sector.
Seems sensible? Necessary, even. High-risk industry, like oil and gas, you need qualified people. Safety, standards. It's paramount.
Makes sense. And the CBN setting a deadline for new anti-money laundering standards. 12 months.
Yeah. Strengthening AML rules. That's crucial for financial system integrity. Meeting international standards, deterring illicit flows. Important stuff.
Very. On a more positive local note, Dangote supporting women entrepreneurs in Benue with cash grants.
Oh, that's great to see. Corporate social responsibility making a direct impact. Empowering people locally, fostering activity. Good stuff.
Definitely. But then Budget T reporting on the National Assembly inserting trillions worth of projects into the 2025 budget.
Ah, the perennial budget debate. Raises those questions about transparency, process, priorities. How are these projects chosen? Do they fit the national plan? Need scrutiny.
Always does. We also saw the Fidelity Bank CEO investing heavily in the bank's shares, and Dangote and Alumalu pledging fresh investments in Teraba.
Right. The CEO buying shares, usually seen as a confidence signal. And those big investment pledges in Teraba Could be a real boost for that region. Jobs, economic activity.
Signs of confidence, maybe. And new pay TV in Lagos, Luft Pay TV.
Yeah, more competition in the media market. Usually good for consumers, more choice, maybe better prices.
Okay, but then these concerning economic loss figures. Edo losing $1 billion a year in investments due to cultism. Lagos losing billions in property to fires.
Those are staggering numbers. They just really hammer home the economic cost of insecurity and, well, inadequate safety infrastructure. Holds back development, scares off investment.
Huge tangible costs. Okay, let's move into security and justice specifically. Some internet fraudsters jailed, one in Kwara forfeiting N$124 million.
Good to see convictions and, importantly, asset forfeitures. Sends a message that cybercrime doesn't pay, or at least you might lose what you gained. Helps protect people online.
Yes. And then, that awful case. The music teacher in Lagos sentenced to life for raping a child.
It's just horrific. The sentence reflects the absolute severity, the need to protect children and hold perpetrators accountable. Justice system working there.
Absolutely. Then the IG ordering a probe into the killing of that WASI candidate in Oyo.
Vital. A swift, thorough investigation is needed. Find out what happened, ensure accountability, upholding the rule of law.
And contrasting that, maybe, the report of a police officer complaining about inadequate operational funds.
Yeah, that paints a picture of the challenges on the ground, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Lack of resources directly impacts their ability to do the job effectively, from responding to calls to investigating. It's fundamental.
It really is. The minister and EFCC boss inspecting that recovered estate from Emifil, those 753 units again.
Right, making the anti-corruption efforts visible, recovering assets, showing the public they're tackling graft, builds confidence, maybe.
Perception matters there. And in Bauchi, police busting an illegal fertilizer operation. 5 arrests.
Important for the agricultural sector. Fake fertilizer can ruin crops, affect food safety, protecting farmers and consumers.
True. We also saw arrests for, well, more varied things. Car theft in Lagos, a man arrested in Adamawa for dressing as a woman.
Shows the range of things police deal with daily, doesn't it? Yeah. From property crime to enforcing local regulations or norms.
Yeah, quite a spectrum. And that human interest story, the family seeking funds for a graduate with kidney failure.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
A tough reminder of healthcare costs, the personal struggles people face, reliance on community support.
Very much so. But then a positive story, too. The NSCDC officer promoted for returning lost money to a Hajj pilgrim.
That's wonderful. Integrity in public service needs highlighting. Sets an example.
Absolutely. Lagos using drones for surveillance now to boost security.
Interesting use of tech. Drones offer new ways to monitor, maybe respond faster in urban areas, aerial view for crime, traffic, lots of possibilities.
Technology playing a bigger role. And in Edo, youths protesting, blocking a highway over insecurity and bad roads.
See, that connects the dots, doesn't it? Social unrest often stems from frustration over basic needs, like safety and infrastructure not being met. Causes major disruption, too.
Very direct link. Finally, immigration warning about maritime insecurity.
Yeah, ongoing concerns about piracy, smuggling, illegal fishing in Nigerian waters. Needs constant vigilance, coordinated efforts. Big economic and security implications there.
Okay, quite a mix in that section. Let's look at the social and miscellaneous headlines. Professor Alwaid of JMB nearly resigning over a UTME error.
Wow. Shows the immense pressure, doesn't it? Managing those huge national exams, the personal responsibility they feel when things go wrong, high stakes.
Absolutely. Oyetola lobbying France for Nigeria's IMO bid. International diplomacy at work.
Yeah, building alliances, seeking support in global organizations, important for national interests in areas like maritime standards.
Then a mention of an aviation book launch.
A small item, but contributes to knowledge sharing in that sector.
The FG urging oil firms to increase production to meet the OPEC quota.
That constant balancing act. National output versus international agreements. Yep. Crucial for oil revenue and Nigeria's standing in OPEC.
Definitely. And the ban on night driving for fuel tankers. Safety measure.
Seems prudent. Reducing risks associated with transporting flammable materials at night. Road safety focus.
Makes sense. AHCon making progress airlifting Hajj pilgrims.
That's a massive annual logistical operation. Getting so many people safely to Saudi Arabia and back requires huge coordination.
Huge. FRSC and the Actors Guild collaborating on a road safety film festival. That's creative.
Using Nollywood's reach, right? Popular culture to get safety messages across can be very effective.
Smart. Ogun customs revenue, N15 billion in Q1, an indicator of trade activity there.
Gives you a snapshot of imports, exports, duties collected in that area. Economic pulse check, sort of.
AFRIMA planning youth empowerment through arts.
Good for the creative sector. Supporting young talent, fostering culture, creating opportunities.
And the Ogon cleanup, creating 7,000 jobs.
That's a significant positive outcome. Shows environmental projects can have real economic benefits for communities.
A tangible impact. Like defending the FCTA budget. Standard procedure.
Yeah, part of the accountability process. Justifying spending plans.
NCC handing over a digital ICT park to a university.
Good step. Boosting tech education, resources for students, bridging the gap with industry needs.
Lawyers opposing a compulsory voting bill.
Ah, that debate. Civic rights versus civic duties, individual liberty versus potentially higher turnout. Complex questions there.
Always are. Lego's transport policy getting recognition suggests it's seen as working well.
Yeah, maybe a model for other places facing similar urban mobility challenges. Recognition implies some success.
Groups submitting an OU for Abaddon state creation.
That's a formal step, isn't it? Pushing the state creation agenda forward will likely trigger more debate in the National Assembly.
Sunday Igdaho is saying he's still on the FG wanted list.
A lingering issue then. Legal processes, still potentially active, has implications for him.
A challenge to lawmakers to publish constituency allocations. Transparency push.
Yes, trying to get more clarity on how those local development funds are actually spent. Accountability again.
Telcos battling numerous outages in May. Infrastructure issues.
Highlights the challenges in keeping that critical comms infrastructure reliable. Disruptions hit everyone. Businesses, individuals. Need for resilience.
Definitely. And OYO unveiling its annual school census report.
Valuable data for planning. Understanding enrollment, demographics. Essential for managing the education sector effectively.
Right. And finally, the Today in History bits. NYSC established this day in '73.
Yeah, for national unity. A specific moment in Nigeria's history.
And the Great Chilean Earthquake in 1960. Most powerful ever recorded.
A stark reminder of nature's power. Puts things in perspective.
And that not Hunkus quote. You must love in such a way that the person you love feels free.
A beautiful thought on relationships, freedom, love. Nice way to round things off.
Phew. Okay, that was quite the tour through just one day of Nigerian headlines. It really is amazing how much you can glean, isn't it? About the country's focus, its challenges.
It really is.
Yeah.
Even just scratching the surface like this, you see the complexity. Politics, economy, security, society, all interwoven, constantly shifting. It's a dynamic picture.
So, thinking about everything we just touched on, if you had to pick one area, what do you think holds the most significant potential impact, positive or negative, on Nigeria's future? Just based on this snapshot.
It's a tough one.
It is. Something for you, the listener, to think about too. Which of these threads seems most critical? Maybe dive deeper into one that caught your interest.
Yeah, definitely worth pondering. Because staying informed, even through these kinds of deep dives, really does help us understand the world a bit better.
Well said. Until next time.